Kent State men's basketball coach Rob Senderoff. Coach Senderoff, how are you today?
I'm great, Ryan. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm telling you, we're very, very busy. We're back-to-back, and we're very, very happy to have you on today to talk some hoops with you. First year as the head coach, full-time, and I know you got, 6, 7 years as an assistant there?
Yep, 7 years. Absolutely.
Excellent. Guys are off to a great start, 6-1. What's the biggest adjustment to going from that assistant role into, obviously you're familiar with the program and the guys, but what's the biggest adjustment to take over at the helm?
You know what the biggest adjustment is? Every time we messed up last year as an assistant, I used to say, boy, if I was in charge, I'd be doing it this way, this way, and this way. And now every time I mess up, I can't look at anybody else but myself, I guess, and say, boy, you really screwed that one. So, I'd probably say that's the biggest adjustment.
All right. Well, you guys are off to a great start. Obviously not a lot of that going on. 6-1, like I said, started the year off big victory over West Virginia, which is a quality program. And I want to get into some of the details. You're known particularly for, as an offensive developer. What is your approach offensively when you come in and take over this team?
Well, you know what? It's funny because we're actually better defensively this year than we were last year, and worse offensively so far than we were last year. So last year I spent a lot of the time with the offense, and I think I've tried to make a real concerted effort to work on defense in practice every day because I know how important that is for our team's success, and that's always been our identity, is to be a tough defensive-minded team. And I really didn't want to lose that identity with me becoming the head coach here. So we've worked hard on the defensive end. And, the one thing we have to try to work on right now is limiting our turnovers. And I think our offense will get much better when we're able to do that because we're shooting at a high percentage. We're shooting from the free throw line at a high percentage. We're shooting from three at a high percentage and from the field. But we're just turning the ball over a little bit too much right now. And today in practice in particular, we really worked on limiting turnovers.
How competitive is it to recruit in the MAC and specifically in an area like Ohio, which is very competitive and has a great kind of a hoops scene?
Yeah, you know what? Well, first of all, in the state, obviously you have Ohio State, Cincinnati, which are in BCS leagues, and then, of course, you have Xavier, who they're recruiting just about whoever they want, Dayton, which are great programs. And then you have all of the MAC and Horizon. There's just so many schools in the state of Ohio that it is really, really competitive to try to get the players that can help you be successful in your league. And I think that's across the board. I think that it is it's highly competitive, and there's a lot of really good basketball in the state. So we work as hard as we can to get out and see as many kids as we can during the high school season, and then we have some camps during the summer where we have team camps and elite camps to try to get those players to our campus so that we have a chance to evaluate them and then get a chance to recruit them. But it is competitive for sure.
These guys, obviously they're all elite athletically, but what do you look for? What's that one thing that when you're going out and you really want to pull a recruit back, what is something that really separates a guy from the rest of the field?
The two things for us that we really, really look hard at when we're recruiting kids is their competitiveness. We want kids that want to compete on a day-to-day basis because at this level and at any college level, it is really a grind when you get to college, the day in and day out practice and schoolwork and travel and all those things. It's not easy, and you need to really, really want to compete, or else you're going to get passed by. So we really look to that, and we like kids that come from winning programs because we want kids that are willing to sacrifice for the sake of winning. And we've done a pretty good job of getting kids to buy into that concept, and that's something that we really look towards when we're recruiting.
I noticed when I was looking on your website at some of the incoming guys that are even the ones that are waiting to transfer. You've got some recruiting reach out there that's going far outside the state of Ohio.
Yeah, you know what? The one positive, our program's been so successful for such a long time. For the last 13 years, we've averaged 24 wins a year. So because of that, we were on national TV 10 times last year. We opened up the season this year on ESPN. Because of that, our name has a lot of recognition nationally. And we have a kid from New York who was the player of the year last year, Justin Green. So when we were recruiting to replace that class, we have a kid from New York coming in, and, he was familiar with Justin and the success that Justin's had. We brought in a kid from Indianapolis. We've had a lot of success with kids from Indianapolis here before. Michigan has always been really important to us. That's where Antonio Gates is from, Detroit, and DeAndre Haynes, who was the player of the year here a couple years ago, he's from Detroit, so we brought in a kid from Detroit. And then we did have a kid that signed with us from Cincinnati as well, who was originally from Aiken High School and is now in junior college. So we're really going to try to find the guys that best fit our program regardless of where they are from, but we certainly make as much an effort as possible to try to get Ohio kids when we can.
Kent State head men's basketball coach Rob Senderoff with us today on the program. You bring up Gates, and I have a question regarding Gates and just in general this trend of grabbing these big guys from these college basketball programs and then them translating into the NFL. Not just Gates, but you got Jimmy Graham down in New Orleans who came from Miami. That trend in general, I mean, why is that working so well?
You know what, I'm assuming, and Antonio was a great high school football player. He was a USA parade All-American in high school. So he had the background, and I don't know much other guys, but basketball players in general, I mean, you've got some really, really good athletes that are playing basketball. And when you've got the size and the athleticism, it seems to be able to translate pretty well to football. It seems like, especially at the tight end position, for whatever reason.
And I'd take you a little bit off the beaten path there. I got all the standard basketball questions in, and I want to ask you about this one. What do you think about the current situation in the NBA with the mega teams forming? What does that do to a college coach out there? What does he think of that from that standpoint?
Well, I'm a Knicks fan, so I grew up in New York. So, for me, the Knicks are one of those teams that it seems like they're trying to get a mega team together. You know what? I don't know if it's going to end up working or not. The crazy thing is, at the end of the day, Dallas last year, who, they had one star and a lot of very, very, very good players. It seems like when you know your role and you've got really good pieces all over the place, it seems like those are the teams that are most successful in the NBA. It certainly seems that way in college for sure. So I'm not so sure that's, it seems like it's a trend now, and I understand it, but I don't know if that's going to be a trend that lasts for a long time or if that's just a short-time thing. And if it doesn't work, then you probably won't see it much more after that.
You talk about Dallas having one star and a bunch of great players, and you have to know then one of those great players, Tyson Chandler, is rumored to have signed with the Knicks today, right?
Yeah, I know that's good news, and I don't know if they're going to end up. I was reading that they may end up now trading Amari Stoudemire to get Chris Paul, and because Chris Paul wants to play with Chandler, and who knows? You know what? The free agent frenzy in the NBA is unbelievable. That's going to go on in the next couple of weeks here, but. Hopefully, I'm excited that the season they're going to have a season at least in December because I like watching the NBA.
Yeah, and speaking of the next level, you got any guys that we might see playing at the next level?
You know what? I don't know that. I know we've had a number of scouts come through for our games. We've had some NBA scouts that have come to practice, and I certainly hope that we have some kids that are able to do that. Right now, I think we have 16 kids that are playing overseas this year, so that's a great thing for our kids and for our program. And I do think we have a number of guys who have aspirations to play after college, and I think that we'll have some kids play. And it's really just a matter of, where they're able to take their game the rest of this year and beyond to see what ends up happening.
And I got to tell you, wrapping up with you before I let you go, this is the first time you and I have ever spoken, okay? But this is not the first time that our paths have crossed, believe it or not. I was checking.
Go ahead, tell me.
Okay, I was checking out your biography there, and it turns out that from '99 to I think 2001, you were an assistant at Yale.
Yes, I was.
And during that time, I was the color commentary for the Dartmouth men's basketball program.
Oh, were you really? Okay.
So therefore, I have seen you. I've been in the same building with you at least twice,
yep.
and never had a clue until today when I happened upon your bio. So it's a small, small world.
It sure is. It sure is. Well, that's good, Ron.
It was so good to have you on today. Rob Senderoff, the coach of the Kent State Golden Flashes men's basketball program. Thanks again, Coach.